Hey everyone, this is Tony, not so Stark, and I'm bringing you a review of the Mcfarlane Toys Mcfarlane Collector's Edition DC Multiverse First Appearance Action Comics #1 Superman, which is a very long way of saying this is Mcfarlane Toys' figure of the very first appearance, Superman. I never really know how to title the McFarlane figures because there's so many different sub-brands, Collector's Edition, Blacklight. Now I think there's that Frostbite one. Anyway, we're taking a look at the Action Comics #1 Superman. This figure, it was a gift from my girlfriend. It is an amazing, amazing figure in its own right. There are definitely some things that I know people have issues with. One of them I might have a remedy for, but we're going to go ahead and take a look at this guy today. So first off, we're going to start with basically the accessories. He does come with the basic McFarlane DC stand that all of the not DC Direct, it's been a while since then, all of the DC Multiverse figures come with. He also comes with the flight stand. This is also the standard one from DC Multiverse. It's not the greatest flight stand in the world, as far as the posability of it. It's very much just up and down, and the grips do go rotating all the way around. You can kind of mess with that if you want to get like an upside down grabbing the belly flight pose. So it does the trick, and you can always also take it out and use just this for the base. I do kind of wish that all of the McFarlane figures came with this instead of the black little display base. For me, this one doesn't really do much of anything. This is just really solid, and I feel it just looks better design-wise, you know? So, I don't know. I really like this one. And then, this is the first McFarlane Collector Edition figure that I've gotten. So I've never had one that came with the trading card stand, which is something. It's just, basic black plastic. It's hollow on the back. And you do have silver for the DC logo. And then the card is the Action Comics #1 cover. So on this side, you do get the cover, cropped, of course. And on the back, you do get a bio about Superman, which you can feel free to pause if you want to read that. And that is it for the, display accessories, if you want to put it that way. Into Superman himself, and he does come with these chains, which you can take off. They are able to be closed. If you see, there are some little grooves here and there. So they just kind of flap over each other. It's a little bit tricky, but I would say start with the middle and then work your way for the rest. It can be done. I've done it once, haven't done it again, but I promise it can be done. So, and it does wrap around Superman. Now, as for the Superman himself, that's it. He comes with the chains. I think it would have been nice if he came with alternate hands to do a few different posing varieties that you could see in the comic itself. I know when he jumps through the air, he usually has his hands splayed out, I believe, in the first few. So that would have been cool. But as is, it's not that bad. It is I always get this mixed. I'm pretty sure this is a mix and match of the infected Superman body and the Rebirth body, as evidenced by the boots, which I think are one of the biggest issues with this. If you can look at the card here, he does not have those boots. He does actually have some type of boot. You can kind of see it here, where it's a design where kind of like an old gladiator sandal, but they just went straight reuse, which, it is what it is. It's just kind of weird that for a line called Collector Edition, it's kind of, from what I've seen, mostly been just repaints and retools that are kind of quick and easy. But yeah, again, even looking at this, the belt is all yellow, whereas it's red on there, but at least they painted the back of it, which is nice. And yeah, there's no red booties. Now, I know people have been saying, this is not accurate to the cover. No, it's not. To the interior artwork, it sort of is paint-wise. Again, the boots should be different. But in terms of the color, he is actually just straight up blue. There's no red booties. However, one thing I did try, I have these from the Rebirth Superman. So one thing I did try is you don't even have to really boil it. Just with a little bit of wiggling back and forth, they come off, and you can just do this. Is it an ideal solution? No, but and the stand's down. Not an ideal solution. However, it works to an extent. If he would stand, that'd be even better. But it does work to an extent. It conveys the cover art if that's your thing, and you could always take off the yellow paint with some acetone nail polish remover or Windsor brush cleaner if you have either of those. But for the purposes of this review, I am gonna keep the blue boots on, just because I want to review it as it came. For new pieces, it's just the head sculpt and the chain. I haven't seen the chain with any others. I've kind of been out of the DC Multiverse game for a good amount of time. I did sell most of the ones that I had prior for reasons. But yeah, the head sculpt is the newest piece on this figure, and I think it's one of my favorite of the Mcfarlane Superman sculpts. It is just very, very perfectly vintage. I think it captures the comic book art wonderfully. I think the skin tone is pretty solid. And then in another video I'm going to put up shortly, I have the Earth 2 gold label Superman from Infinite Crisis. And popping this head on there is one of my perfect combinations, I think. I'm going to try to turn it into a Fleischer Superman at some point because I've always loved that design. But yeah, the head sculpt is pretty great. I think the paint applications are solid. The eyes look really great, not too big, and kind of squinting. And the way the sculpt catches the shadow with the wrinkles, I think is really, really solid. We are going to kind of breeze through articulation just because I feel that this body has been used quite a good amount, and if you're into this line, I feel like you've probably, even if you don't have it, you've messed with it at some point. So let's just go over that really quick. Let's pan out. So for the head, it's on a ball joint, rotates 360. It can go up that far, down that far, and it can pivot because it is on a nice double ball peg. I do feel the neck is a bit short, which isn't really helping with his proportions. But, not the end of the world. You can always swap it out for another neck peg. For the shoulders, they are on the typical Mcfarlane where it's a ball joint connecting to the hinge. So it can kind of wiggle around. It can go all the way up, all the way down. As far as the butterfly, it's very minimal. But yeah, the shoulder rotates 360. Double bend at the elbow. The elbows on this figure are not the best. Again, I know I've already mentioned it, but the Earth 2 Superman has, I think, Mcfarlane's best elbows. And these, personally, it's just the earlier figures do tend to get quite gappy when you articulate them. This is definitely not the worst by a long shot. I do feel the Page Puncher's Superman has the worst elbows, but it's not bad. And as far as the wrists, they are on the old school ball peg before they started to sculpt them into the shape of the wrists and the ankles. So it does hinge, swivel at the base, and swivel at the wrist. The torso joints with both combined, you can crunch that far forward. And going back, you can get him a really nice crunch back. So they're still struggling with the forward crunch. It can turn side to side. It can also pivot side to side. The hips are on the typical Mcfarlane joint, so they can kick out to the side that far. They can kick forward that far. This is a bit of a rigid plastic. It's not as soft, so it does kind of hinder. And the leg can go just a little bit back. As far as the knees, he has a double jointed knee, and it can give you a pretty nice deep bend. These aren't the worst knees I've ever seen either from Mcfarlane. And for the ankles, same as the wrists. Goes up, down, swivel at the top, pivot at the actual ankle, and a toe hinge that is quite deep. So overall, I think this figure is nice. I like it a lot. One last thing to say. The symbol. The symbol is tampoed on there. It's not sculpted at all, but it is a nice application. It looks super clean, super crisp. The colors are nice and vibrant, I feel. So for not being sculpted, it is pretty solid. And the cape itself is a sculpted cape. It's not bad at all. It's pretty fairly pliable. So overall, as far as this figure, I think you should pick it up for sure if you're a Superman fan. I've been a fan of Superman since I was a kid. I am very excited for Superman Legacy. That's another thing entirely. But as a Superman fan, I'm super happy to have this in my collection, in my display. I think it is, even if it's not the most 100% accurate thing in the world, I think it is a nice piece of comic book history as far as what it represents. If you're not able to, afford some of the older releases of this costume from other companies or statues, I do think this is a really, really solid representation. Or even if this is your favorite look, you could do worse, and I think it's really solid. He articulates pretty well. It's just, like I said, the joints are kind of iffy. But overall, I do think he's pretty solid. He's definitely one of my favorites in my collection. I have him on display right above my desk. And that is pretty much everything I have to say for this Superman. So if you like what you see, go out, pick it up. It is on Amazon, I think, for, I want to say $29 or $30. But it's definitely worth it. There is also the chance, however, that you'll get the Chase, which is more of the Silver Age design, I believe. So, if you're doing it on Amazon, it's a 50-50. But yeah, that has been a look at the Mcfarlane Collector Edition Action Comics #1 Superman. Thanks for watching.